Good morning. Good morning. This is Detroit in black and white. I'm Adolph Mongo. Nice sunny day, but it's cold outside. Here we are at
Cold. It's not cold. It's
cold.
just
It's cold.
brisk.
It's
A little
cold.
It's
chilly.
brisk.
We at
Right,
we at McShane's on Michigan and Trumbull. Want to thank owner Bob Roberts as usual. Good morning, Vanessa Moss, shit starter, attorney,
Good morning. Good morning.
political, whatever.
Listen, if you're watching our show today, what we would like for you to do is like, subscribe,
Yeah.
and share. Like, subscribe, and share. We're here every Saturday from 10 to 11 o'clock. Come in, participate in the audience. Like, subscribe, and share.
That's Weston Allan Lengel,
Hello.
Deadline Detroit, co-founder, Washington Post, Detroit News, and the Eagle American.
Yep.
So let's get started.
What's your
Get
name?
on with the getting
I'm
on.
Mongo.
Oh, and you are?
I'm just a little black man from Detroit.
Editor of
You're
the.
not from the D.
I am.
No, you're
Born
not.
and raised.
You're from the township.
Oh, that's the D. They put us out there. They built the barracks for the army,
Uh-huh.
but since we're back in the 40s, you know how housing segregation was running rampant. So they said we're gonna move all these black folks out in the 2 stories out in Rollo Township. But anyway, we're here. Let's go to outrage of the week.
You want me to do mine first?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So mine comes out of the state of Texas. It's in Harris County, which is the largest county. I believe it's the largest county in the state of Texas. And you had a situation where numerous attorneys were believed to be smuggling drugs into the jail. And you had several deaths as a result of that. And what they were doing is they were taking papers into the jail. And the papers were soaked with K2, PCP, and spice. So when we go visit the inmates and we pass out these papers, they said they confiscated at least 154 pieces of paper. So these inmates would smoke it, they would sell it, and unfortunately, you've had some deaths. You had quite a few deaths since January 2023 in Harris County in the jail of inmates overdosing. So you are in a jail. You're not in prison for life. You're in jail, right?
Right.
So that means you got an in date and an out date. Unfortunately, for some, their out date was death. Now, if that is not outrageous, I don't know what is. You have an attorney, and you know when we take an oath when we become attorneys, and you're breaking the law, you're going into the jail, taking these documents. Now, I don't think he was doing it. They were doing it by themselves. It had to be a group of people that was complicit in doing this.
Right.
But that is outrageous. I know if I had a loved one in jail, I would, man, I could see the lawsuits coming. I could see the lawsuits. So that's my outrage.
Okay, Allan. What's your outrage?
Okay.
Yes,
Well,
Christmas and people celebrate
it's
it.
a little out here.
That's okay. No.
Yeah. Anyways, so my one of my grievances or whatever. Susan Sarandon, the actress. I don't know what the proper term is.
I think it's
actor now.
Yes.
And so I had nothing wrong. She was at a rally in New York, and she was supporting the Palestinians in the fight with Israel. Absolutely. I mean, look, people, have their reasons. But during her little commentary in her speech, she said, well, basically, finally, Jews are afraid to be Jews now in America because of all the rise in anti-Semitism and the attacks and stuff like that. I mean, and she said, well, it's good. They're finally getting what it feels like to, to fear like Muslims fear here in America. And so, first of all, I mean, anti-Semitism didn't start on October 8th, the day after the attack. I mean, we had, a synagogue in Pittsburgh where 11 people were murdered, and I think 6 or 7 people were wounded. We've had a lot of, people spraying swastikas in synagogues, which is the equivalent of somebody spray painting the N-word on a church. I mean, it would be very
bombing a church with little girls.
Yeah,
I mean,
right.
Listen.
And so, but the point is, it's like, it's like saying good, good. The anti-Semitism. Look, anti-Semitism. I mean, there's people in France.
All this shit been around. And that remind me of.
Exactly.
You ever see the Shriners commercial with the two little guys?
Yeah.
They should be millionaires because they brought a lot of money. But anyway, one of the little guys in the wheelchair said, I had 42 surgeries. And the other one said, and I had 57.
Right.
You know what? Because I'm older than you. Listen, we all know a Jew's been under attack forever. Black folks been under attack forever. Muslims been under attack forever.
Indians been under attack.
Everybody
forever.
been under attack.
That's what this country is about.
But the bottom line is, you know what? When people are feeling it, because I was told, and you read that the Israelis had it under control when it comes to security. So the whole world was shocked and appalled that they was hand gliding in like they were on a weekend escapade. And so, yes, she's been that way for whatever. And,
I mean, look, it's horrible.
You gonna stop watching the movies?
Yeah, I wasn't. You know what? I'll tell you, my cousin, I spoke to her the other day, and she lives in Haifa. She's an artist. She's very liberal. She said, I love Susan Sarandon. In fact, I took a picture of Susan Sarandon and painted a picture of her, and I have it hanging in my computer room. I'm so disappointed that she said that.
She gonna throw it away?
I don't know what she's
gonna do. But let me ask you this. Would you rather people tell you who they are that hide behind, I'm an actor? Would you rather
They
know
could be
how
Tommy
people are
Tuberville. They
right.
could be Tommy Tuberville.
Right.
He coached all these black folks for 30 years, got rich off of them, and then he gets to the U.S. Senate. He turned into
So you mad at her for being
maniac.
I'm not mad at her.
She is?
I'm not mad at her. I mean, I'm disappointed, and it's just it's
But
idiocy.
you don't know her,
But
right? We don't
right.
know her.
You're right.
We don't know her.
I mean, but it's
So-
idiocy.
She could have been
for
her
her.
way all the
for her
time.
to say
She
You
was.
think she just woke up and was like that? Those been her feelings forever.
she went to
And you know what? We haven't had
parochial
it.
school, a Catholic school. She
I
grew
did
up
too.
in a very insulated.
And you know the Catholics, they sat idle. They sat idle in Rome while Hitler was burning people in the concentration
and stealing
camp.
the art. They were stealing art
Right.
and valuables from the Jews.
Right. But the
the
problem
Catholic Church.
is, I think as people, we look at these people, especially people that are in Hollywood or people that are in the entertainment world, and we hold them up to a certain standard. We don't know these people.
Absolutely.
We don't live in their homes.
Right.
We don't
Absolutely.
sleep with them.
Right.
We don't eat with them. We don't know. So, anything that comes out of anybody's mouth is not surprising to me.
You know what?
Are you gonna watch a movie?
No.
I don't even know what she's been
It's
in.
like Will Smith. I will not watch after what he did to Chris Rock. I will not watch any of his
You
movies.
know what?
Not Independence Day.
That,
I've
no,
never
I've
seen
seen a bunch
Man
of
in
them.
Black.
I was a huge fan
never,
of his.
Me never.
But I saw
Never.
what he did to Chris
Me never.
Rock, and I thought that
Me
was
never.
such
But
bullshit.
mine was a
Yeah,
different
I love
situation.
Chris
You
Rock.
like John
was,
Wayne?
John Wayne. I would watch.
What about
Did you
Charlton
used
Heston?
to?
Charles.
Right.
Pre-civil
Moses.
rights.
Right.
Pre-civil rights.
You know what? Yeah. I mean,
Listen,
right,
I'm still going to respect the art. If I like the art, I'm going to respect
You like the
it.
born?
I'm not going
what
to.
about Michael Jackson?
What about Michael Jackson? I love Thriller. What you talking about?
I
What
think
about
his
him?
stuff was.
I was
What
listening-
about R.
listen,
Kelly?
He was not found guilty of anything.
What
okay?
about R. Kelly?
I was never a fan of R.
Listen,
Kelly. So I
Step
don't
in the
care.
name of love. I mean, really. Listen, you can
Are we gonna
separate the art
cancel
from
him out?
the person.
You know what? I'll tell you what. You know what?
I'm tired of cancel culture.
I have a Shazam, the app Shazam, on where you hit it,
Yeah, I have
and
it
you
too.
can listen to the music and figure
Right.
out what play. I was listening to a country music song, and I don't have a lot of country music stuff on my phone, but I heard one, and I was like, "This is an awesome." I think it was SNL had him on, and some guy I can't remember now, and I put it on, and then it came out that he was this blatant racist, and I deleted it after I paid for the phone. I deleted it because I don't want. And the same thing with Michael Jackson. I watched the
He
HBO
was
special.
never. I'm
Oh
sorry.
my God,
I got
you have watch that HBO
no, the
special.
man dead. The man dead. I don't believe it.
The man's dead. He
He's
got away
dead.
with. He got away with some
but
serious
that's what you
crimes.
believe. That's what you believe. But listen,
Well, you have if you
I
watch
still
those
listen
HBO
to
specials.
Donald Trump
Jackson,
got
I
away
listened
with
to
some
him yesterday.
serious crimes. So do you watch Donald Trump?
Yes, he does. He watch him in the debates and everything. He occupies the space in his head.
He's got
What are you
rent.
talking
He
about?
rents up there,
So what
man,
are you talking
for
about?
free.
He don't like the man,
Rent
but he
free.
still allows him to
Now,
occupy the space in his
Allan.
head.
Now, Allan, you got a lot of folks saying, you know what? Let's get rid of all the pro-Palestinian students and stuff. Now, when I was on campus, and we did all kind of other stuff. We supported this and supported that.
I got no problem with people supporting that. I mean, look,
You got people saying I'm
there
pulling
should
my
be.
money. I'm not giving them any more money.
There's an Israeli restaurant where the Palestinians are in New York. They're organizing a boycott. They've smashed the windows and stuff like that. It's like, look, you want to boycott? That's fine. But when you start smashing windows because that person's a Jew, I mean, it's like Kristallnacht in pre-World War II, where they went around and smashed all the Jewish stores in Germany and started arresting Jews and stuff like that. I mean, it can be the Jews one day, it can be the blacks the next
It's
day.
already
And
been
it's
the
the blacks
black.
every day.
Yeah,
Don't
been the black.
tell, but
It's
you know what
already
the
been the
bottom
black.
line is this. You've mentioned all these people, Susan Sarandon, R. Kelly, Michael Jackson. Listen, we don't know these people. We weren't there. But guess what? There are different sides to each and every last one of us that people do not know, right? I have kids. I do something bad. Listen, don't cancel me out because my kids still have to live as well as my grandkids. So I have a big problem with cancel culture.
You
I
said,
have a huge problem with
Allan,
cancel
you
culture.
said in one episode a couple of weeks ago that somebody called you a fake Jew.
Yeah.
Oh,
Now, so
Because I said I supported the Palestinians too. I supported two-state solution, and this person was like, screw you. You're a fake Jew. You're not. And it's like, I'm sorry, but you know what? I'm a human, and I have some humanity there. When I
you
see
said Al Sharpton, that's how he says human. He said human. Yes. Okay, go ahead.
I've met Al Sharpton a couple times.
I love Al. Go
Yeah,
ahead. Another person with different
But
sides.
no, so
okay?
he accused me of like not, it's either them or us. But it's like, look, the situation today is a collection of bad decisions on both sides, a collection of bad politicians, of hatred on both sides. It's like it
didn't start in 1948.
Right.
It started way long before that.
There in the 1920s.
BC.
In the 1920s in Hebron, which is now the West Bank.
Don't point your fingers at me. Keep your fingers out my face.
In Hebron in the 1920s, there were Arabs going through Jewish neighborhoods screaming, "Kill the Jews!" They killed 123 Jews. This thing has been going on forever.
They burned down Rosewood and Tulsa. Let's take a break, and we'll come back, continue the conversation.
Okay, let me find the.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your garden supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasure.waynecounty.com and see if you qualify.
What's that site again?
www.treasure.waynecounty.com.
Got it.
Because I live in Detroit, I was able to get tuition-free college through the Detroit Promise. I feel very fortunate working with the Detroit Promise. They were able to afford me so many opportunities. I'm currently studying media production and journalism at University of Michigan Dearborn. I'm looking to take my talents further into the production industry, short films. I love working with people here, and this is where I want to be. And that's why I'm Detroit for life.
Well, welcome back. Detroit Black and White. I'm Adolph Mongo, Allan, Lengel, Vanessa Moss. First guest. He's no stranger to the city of Detroit.
Spent a lot of
Channel
time
7
here.
and
Channel 4.
Yeah. Chris Hansen, how you doing?
Well, thank you for having me. I'm great.
Listen, we all know your great work that you do. But I want to ask you this question.
Sure.
In the last minute, the New York law was about to expire, and you see all these lawsuits.
Yeah,
now.
that's true. And you saw one against the New York City Mayor Adams too. And so you have to wonder. Look, I've spoken up for victims, gone after predators my whole life, survivors, and we do a lot of work in this space. But living part-time in New York and part-time here in the Detroit area, I follow the stuff in Eric Adams pretty closely. And if you look at the background of this particular plaintiff who's filed the suit, this person apparently, according to New York Times and others, has filed many other lawsuits as well. And so what you certainly don't want to see happen in this situation is to have people take advantage of this very important provision that allows survivors and victims of sexual assault to go after their predators, to be abused by anybody who's taking advantage of a political situation. So I just think we need to be careful and examine these cases as they come.
So, Chris.
Can we, before we get going, can we just let Chris?
How dare you?
Let Chris.
How dare you?
Let's talk
I didn't
about.
interrupt you.
No.
He interrupted.
All right,
How
we want
dare
to
you
let Chris.
interrupt me?
Chris, let him tell us about his show.
No.
All
Why
right.
are you here?
I'm here because Allan Lengel, who's a friend of mine for 37 years, invited me to be on this
How
fine show.
can you be friends with the fake
We
Jew?
worked. First of all, I know that's
I'm
not true.
a real Jew.
Second of all, Allan and I worked shoulder to shoulder for many years as grizzled street reporters here in the city of Detroit.
No, okay. Go ahead, Allan.
No, I was going to say. So Chris, you had to catch a predator, which is
Right.
like you kind of
We did
became a brand.
for 21 years. I was at NBC, did a lot of different investigative enterprise and crime reporting at Dayline, including To Catch a Predator, which became all that we know it is now. And I've worked, Discovery, and we had a syndicated show. But I partnered with Sean Rack of Transition Studio, who, as you know, has done a lot of documentary work over the years, and created TruBlu, which is a streaming crime network, like Netflix for crime. And within that, we do a lot of different documentaries that are in the works, probably a dozen. And we're working on a new news magazine focused on crime. And we do Takedown with Chris Hansen.
And tell us about Takedown.
It's the new Predator series. So we essentially embed with law enforcement around the country, and we do sting operations exposing men who are trying to exploit children online for sex.
We have a little video.
Coming up on Takedown with Chris Hansen. In Polk County, Florida, this man wants to pay a foster mom to have sex with her 15-year-old daughter.
No, it's not Chris Hansen.
But this guy is about to have his worst fears come true.
Did you really think you could do all this and not run into me?
Chris Hansen.
Yes, sir.
I'm in Polk County, Florida with the Sheriff's Office for Operation Child Protector 4, a 7-day undercover investigation to apprehend child. In the very early hours, an undercover detective fills me in on a man wanting to have with a 15-year-old girl in exchange for money.
You've been chatting with him for almost 2 days now.
Yes, sir.
What do we know about Trevor?
What we know about Trevor, what we believe, is that he is 33 years old and potentially used to work at Disney World.
Man.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this question. How many folks, when you get them in that situation that get prosecuted and get convicted?
Oh, virtually all of them get prosecuted and convicted. Very few have ever gotten off on a technicality or been found not guilty in a court. And the vast majority, because the evidence is so strong, end up pleading guilty.
You remember that one time when people criticized the show about the prosecutor? Was that in Texas somewhere?
That was
where
in
he
Texas.
Killed himself?
Well, he did. So he showed up in a sting operation in Texas. He was an assistant district attorney. And he chatted with not one, but two different decoys posing as teenage boys, sexually charged conversations. Never showed up at the sting house, but in Texas, like many states, the crime is often committed with the solicitation of a minor for sex online. The police went to go arrest him, and as they were coming in to execute the warrant, he shot himself and killed himself. What we found out later was that he was trying to remove a hard drive from his laptop, which contained multiple images of child pornography, and we didn't find this out until years later, evidence of criminal activity by his boss, the elected district attorney of that county in Texas, which sent that district attorney to prison, federal prison. So there was a whole lot.
What was the crime there?
Corruption within office, financial crimes, but evidence of those crimes existed on that hard drive of that laptop, along with the child pornography. So there was a whole lot more going on in that situation.
And a lot of lawyers, I assume, try to do entrapment defense.
It's not even close to entrapment, because first of all, entrapment doesn't encompass what we do as journalists embedded there, and it's set up so rigorously with standards. In other words, the alleged predator has to make the first contact, the first suggestion of sex, has to do everything first. It's not like we have a picture of a Lolita saying, "Hi, come over for free sex." That's not how this works. It is very well thought out, very well put together, and it's almost bulletproof when it comes to the prosecution.
So, Chris, your show, you go after the regular Joe Schmoes, the regular
Could be anybody. We found a lot of prominent people.
That's where I'm going.
Rabbi, teacher,
doctor, recently.
If you don't stop interrupting me, we're gonna have a fight at this table for real.
All right. Okay, so I have a question. Go ahead. I'm kidding you. I'm messing with you, Vanessa. Well, let me ask you this. Do you feel sorry every time? I mean, there's some really nerdy dudes who show up sometimes. Do you ever feel sorry for some of them?
Of course, we have empathy, and you do feel sorry for some of these guys and the situations there. We've had, veterans of the Iraq War come in who are obviously dealing with some sort of PTSD. And while the human in me says, God, which way did this guy go wrong today? What if he had made a different decision and didn't show up in the sting operation? His life would be much different and much better, but for that one mistake he's made. But when you take a look at what would have happened had this not been a sting operation, had there been a child there, and had that child been sexually exploited, that affects that child for the rest of their lives. This guy will work his way through it, face the consequences and move on with his life. But if a child had been victimized, that's forever. And I feel less sorry for the guys when I look at it.
How do you defend somebody like that, Vanessa?
I have not had a predator, a child predator here. In my 22 years of practice, I have not had the, and because I'm in private practice, I get to pick who I want to represent, who I don't want to represent. But I wanted to circle back to what you opened up with. You were talking about the guy, the mayor of New York City, and you talked about the complainant or the plaintiff in this case, and you talked about her history of filing lawsuits.
It doesn't make it wrong in this case.
Okay, so you know exactly where I'm going.
Yeah.
It doesn't make it wrong in this case, and it may not make it wrong in other cases, because I find that people who have been victims, people who are predators, they know how to pick out those victims.
No,
they are
you are absolutely
surgical
right.
with it.
Yeah,
Okay?
and I see these things. We had a recent investigation in Michigan, up in Genesee County, with Sheriff Chris Hansen and his ghost team, and there was a 61-year-old doctor. And throughout his day of seeing 18 different patients, he found time to chat with somebody he thought was a teenage girl, expose his private parts to her in a photo, and drive over in his luxury SUV, wonderfully dressed, with wine, Oreo cookies, and Coca-Cola to exploit a 15-year-old girl. And as he walks in, and this is all on camera, he slaps her right on the backside. You know, and so yes, predators by definition know how to choose the most vulnerable. So you can't. You know, all I'm saying is, you know, when asked about this law, it's a good law because there are a lot of victims out there who miss the statute of limitations. The vulnerable don't want to come forward. No, and they deserve their day.
Right, because they're criticized while you wait so doggone long. Right. And the trauma that they experience, I mean, and they continue to experience because money is not going to solve the issue at all. No. So I think, like you do, I think that it is a good law, but we also have to be careful because there are people who will take advantage of it. There are people that are just like predators. There's a bunch of liars out here.
Yeah.
You know?
No, it's a very vexing situation because, and again, you know where I stand on this. I stand in, you know, I've spent 20 plus years just on the Predator franchise, 40 years as a television journalist, you know, covering predators of all sorts, political predators, financial predators, sexual predators, you name it, I'm covered.
But it's just like it was a bus accident years ago in Detroit, and the bus driver said there was 8 people on the bus. But when the police came, etc., there was about 32 people saying that
we saw the Wayne County lottery.
Right.
Well, let me ask you: when you see all these people, do you think are any of them? Can they be reformed through therapy?
I think some can. Here's the problem: they're not all the same guy, right? So you've got a hardcore heavy hitter who you got to lock them up for the rest of their lives because they will offend. This is the guy who, even before the internet, was the bad little league coach, the guy exploiting the single mother's children, the guy hanging out at the food court at the mall. Bad human, lock him up. Then you've got, on the far end of the spectrum, you've got young opportunists who are socially inept to get caught up in the internet. They say things they wouldn't say face to face. And suddenly you got a 22-year-old who thinks it's okay to sexually exploit a 13 or 14-year-old thinking, oh, it's Romeo and Juliet. It's not. There's a big difference between a 13-year-old.
But how you treat Ron Jeremy, let him serve time at home or in the hospital. You know, people look at that and say, okay, you lock up this person, average Joe Blow, but the Ron Jeremy or Bob Kraft from New England, who they know how to escape all this stuff.
Well, those are all, you know, each case has its own individual set of facts. Kraft does and Ron Jeremy does. I'm not defending any of them, but you know, in the middle, the other third category. So anyway, the younger group, you know, you can probably get some therapy for these guys and monitor them and keep them off the internet in certain ways and probably never offend again. And then the middle, you've got the doctors, the lawyers, the clergymen we've seen, teachers, even businessmen who just get caught up in this. And they start with the porn, and then it goes to the younger porn, and then it goes to the chats online. And the addictive quality of the internet and the anonymity and the 24/7 access. And suddenly they blur this line between fantasy and reality, and they're knocking on the door.
So is Nikki Haley right saying that people should, if they get on social media, that we should know who they are? You know, people use all these names.
Right. And, I think there's an argument for that. I mean, it's a fine line. You know, you get into free speech and privacy issues and everything else. And look, we have a strategic alliance with LexisNexis at TruBlu for a lot of our investigations, a lot of our contacts, and it's very important information. And they are very much involved with the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, which I'm a huge supporter of. And we've also done some work and working with them on some things. So you need to verify who these people are, and you need to have the cooperation of the social media platforms to go after a predator in an investigation. And they do self-reporting. There's mandatory self-reporting that the digital platforms have to make with NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children, to keep track of these things. Because it's the internet, it's ubiquitous. It's hard to track who these people are. And I'm not talking about the dark web. I'm talking about Instagram and Twitter and very accessible social media platforms that we see exploited on a daily basis. You know, if you had asked me in February of 2004, when we did our first predator investigation, if we'd still be doing them 20 years later, no way. I thought this was never meant to be its own entity.
Franchise.
It was a piece for Dateline. Right. And I thought, okay, we'll do it the second time and maybe a third time, and nobody's going to show up. Right. Well, here we are 20 years later, and the explosion in the number of social media platforms that can be exploited is mind-boggling. When we started, we had chat rooms on AOL and Yahoo. That was it. When Yahoo went down because of a wildfire on the West Coast, we had to cease operations during the storm. Now I can't even keep up with the social media platforms upon which adults can approach children.
And one of the other things that I think about when we talk about, the adults on the web, the children that are on the web, it's very important that parents, people
Absolutely.
who have control of those parents, of custody of the children, that they put those kind of controls, because these kids have phones, they have their laptop, they have their notebook, and they go on and they do whatever. And the parents are not aware of what they're doing. You could be in your bedroom sleeping at night, and your 12-year-old is in the bed with their phone on the internet doing
You talk about
whatever.
You talk about a 12-year-old. We did a case, a big documentary on TruBlu, just up the road in Genesee County. 12-year-old girl is groomed on Instagram by an adult male in Florida, convinces her to crawl out of her bedroom window and meet him in a church parking lot. Takes her to a hotel, and sexually assaults her. Turns out, the Genesee County Sheriff's traced this guy all the way back, Peter Petrick, to Florida. They get him, and he cops out to at least 2 other cases in 2 other states. And so what else has he done? This is Instagram.
Right. And so as a parent, you're thinking, what the hell did I do wrong?
Right. And here's a stat that'll shock you. The average parent, according to a recent study, spends less than an hour lifetime with a child talking about internet safety. Less than an hour.
Okay, we're going to take a break. We're going to come back and conclude the segment.
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your gardening supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasure.waynecounty.com and see if you qualify.
What's that site again?
www.treasure.waynecounty.com.
Got it.
Detroit itself offers a lot. You just got to be willing to do it. People don't know what you need unless you open your mouth and say, I need help. What inspired me to get my GED was, it was always a goal of mine. But what made it possible for me to get it was the city of Detroit. They gave you everything you needed to succeed. Just pick up the phone, because you already got it in your hand. Get on the website. Detroit for life.
All right.
Okay.
Well, we're back here with Chris Hansen, Allan, Lengel, and Vanessa Moss. How can we watch your show?
People can watch by going to watchtrueblu.com, TRUBLU, and it lays it out. It's a streaming network, so you subscribe just as you would to Netflix or any other. And within the last few weeks, we launched the first of several fast channels. So in other words, if you go to Roku and go to channel 529, you can watch, a sampling of what we do. We program that channel, and you can get a sense of it. The new Takedown Investigation, some of the other documentaries. We've hundreds of titles.
Okay. Are you enjoying it?
I love it. For a guy at my stage of the game, to not only own a part of the network, to have a great partner in Sean Reck, and to own the content and the distribution, it's a dream come true.
Oh,
Like
wow.
owning your own
Right.
It's
master thing.
so
Right.
and I've done this for a long time in a lot of different networks, and the bureaucracy can choke you. When I did those 2 recent documentaries for Discovery Plus, and I love the Discovery Plus, but the Peter Nygaard investigation, the Onision investigation, they were 18 months to 2 years to get them on, and there's nothing that should take that long for 4 hours to tell them.
Right.
And now with this system, we cut through all the bureaucracy. I talk to Sean talks to me, we have our own crews, we have everything. We don't wait to be financed for a pilot by a network. We do the documentary.
Right.
So all these different
And you decide
Yeah.
what gets cut, what stays in.
Right. Now,
You
we
don't
may,
have-
so some of these documentaries will have 2 lives. They'll have a live on TruBlu and a live on, another network. And so that network will obviously have say in terms of, tweaking the final product, but we're not beholden to anybody except ourselves. And it's liberating.
Right.
Good. Just too bad you couldn't catch America's mayor, Rudy Giuliani.
Well,
Anyway,
he's got enough to deal with.
Anyway, you're gonna have to come back.
Absolutely, I'd love to.
All right,
Guys,
thank
thanks for having me. Always
Thanks,
awesome.
Chris, for
Chris
coming. I'm
Vanessa,
glad that
thank
you.
you very much.
Formerly of Channel 2.
Channel 4 and Channel 7. Yeah.
I want to give you the Fox. Huh?
You never know where I might end up.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Thank you.
All right, man.
Thank
thanks.
you.
All right.
We're gonna move on again.
We'll do one quick.
Yeah, one quick break, and we'll come back with Elrick.
Because I live in Detroit, I was able to get tuition-free college through the Detroit Promise. I feel very fortunate working with the Detroit Promise. They were able to afford me so many opportunities. I'm currently studying media production and journalism at University of Michigan Dearborn. I'm looking to take my talents further into the production industry, short films. I love working with people here, and this is where I want to be. And that's why I'm Detroit for life.
Righty, we are.
Welcome back. Well, you can.
All right, we've got my good buddy ML Elrick, who is currently investigative columnist for the Detroit Free Press. Worked for Fox 2, WDIV, back Pulitzer Prize winner who
Ran
won
for
him and
city
Jim
council.
Schaefer. Ran for city council.
Ran a 48-yard dash.
Yeah.
Turns out he had to go 50.
And also, so we read a column that you did on Kwame Kilpatrick, and maybe we can. We have a couple of videos. Let's show one.
Okay.
And then you can
And
go
then we'll
into.
get into
talk
the
column.
article. I thought the article was fascinating, and
I didn't.
Well, anyway, let's go.
Kilpatrick is reflective and facing his regrets. When did you realize that things had gone off the tracks?
It was actually quick. 2008, it was revealed that my tremendous character flaw and lying and manipulating of my own wife and family with having an adulterous relationship was put out in the public. And I had to protect my family and my then wife. It was tough.
Things got a lot tougher after his conviction on the federal charges. Many of the crimes he still denies committing.
Did you do it? The mail fraud, the wire fraud, the perjury. I did the perjury, But all of this mail fraud, wire fraud, anybody that's conspiracies, absolutely not.
24 counts.
24 counts of federal charges.
And you still maintain that you were innocent of the overwhelming majority of those charges?
Absolutely.
We're back.
I believe him.
Yeah, right. Listen, I'm gonna tell you, you was in law school when he was in law school.
We worked in law school at the same time. We took the bar at the same time. We have mutual friends. Very charismatic guy. I believe
full
him.
of shit.
He's been saved.
He's been full of shit, and he covered ML. Covered him as a
$1 million.
As a reporter. I opposed him when he first ran. I gave him the first Sambo Award. And then he begged me when he got in trouble. So I have a unique perspective of sitting there listening to the BS for a whole year before he resigned. So what made you write this article?
Well, because people say he's changed, and this interview shows you that he hasn't changed at all. This is, so I'm an older dude now, so I'm learning all these terms like gaslighting and everything,
Right.
But that's what this is. He's trying to convince the city of Detroit that all he did wrong was cheat on his wife and lie about it. I got to tell you, the only person that I don't care about him screwing is his girlfriends. It's the people of Detroit that he screwed that I care about, and he continues to pretend he did nothing wrong. He drove this city into bankruptcy. He drove honest business people out of town. He gave contracts to his friends. He took money. He took suits. He took us all for a ride. He betrayed us. Now, you betray your wife. I'm not cool with that, but that's between you all. But when he does it to us, and then he's convicted by a jury that listened for 6 months carefully, the most diverse jury geographically, racially, by gender, and you can't admit that the 24 counts against you were legitimate convictions, I mean,
but the media loved him when he first ran, and they knew all the bullshit that he was dealing with when he was up in Lansing. We had a whole folder on him.
I did.
When he ran for mayor.
I was his first choice for press secretary, and I almost took the job because I was so excited about this guy. I bought in hook, line, and sinker, and I feel like my job now is to make sure that he doesn't get a chance to do that to people again, because so much time has passed. We've forgotten what he did, and he's trying to drive this narrative that all I did was cheat on my wife and lie about it. That's the only thing we don't care about.
So, ML, how do you reconcile this? This guy has done time. We believe in rehabilitation. We believe in redemption, right? And he says, listen, if most of us could say here at the table, I believe that if somebody says, listen, I've been changed, I've been called by the Lord. That's a personal relationship between him and his God. Who are you, Elrick, to sit there and write a story and say that this guy is not telling the truth? Who are you? And what do you say to those people who say, look, he very well may have done all 24 of those convictions. He very well may have done those things, but we have forgiven him. Why are you still crucifying this guy?
Well, I'm not crucifying anybody. And let me tell you a little bit about redemption. I think it has to begin with remorse. And how can you be forgiven a sin if you won't admit it? And lying is a sin. Now, it's not against the law. Well, I guess perjury is, and he admitted to that. But, in my faith, you can be forgiven, but first you have to admit to what you did wrong. He continues, first of all, to deny the God's honest truth about what he did wrong, which was drive this city into corruption and bankruptcy. And there are 32,000 retirees who are going to pay the price for his crimes until the day they die.
Well, wasn't Dennis Archer partly responsible for some of this mess? And before Dennis Archer? So from Coleman, and I worked for the late Mayor Young. Wasn't there issues when Archer took over, and then when Archer left, the city was really on the teeter of what?
So here's where I hold Kilpatrick responsible for the bankruptcy. Coleman Young, when he had to make some hard choice and lay off thousands of police officers to balance the budget, did it. Dennis Archer, when he had to slash the budget to balance the budget, did it. Kwame Kilpatrick, with $150 million from the casinos and a new casino tax bringing in tens of millions, if not $100 million in tax, did not cut the budget to keep us out of bankruptcy. When he became mayor, he inherited a surplus. There was money in the rainy day fund. And Dennis Archer, who had contracts offered to the unions and had raises, took those contracts off the table because he said, we can't afford this. He ordered an across-the-board 10% cut in the city's budget because he saw that the storm was coming. They told Kilpatrick. They provided Kilpatrick with briefing books. Some of these were like 2 inches thick.
How do you know? Where's the
because
proof?
I saw,
Where are your receipts?
Well, you know what? Here's the thing. Who am I, Elrick? I'm nobody. I'm just somebody who knows the facts, who's looked at the paperwork. Have you looked at the briefing books? Because I've read them.
No,
I was there when Archer handed them over.
Did you see it?
I was there.
Okay.
I was there.
All right.
I'm not the Holy Ghost.
Okay.
Okay?
All right.
I was there.
Let me
I don't speak about anything I don't know and haven't seen. Which is why I'll tell you right now, the Manugian Mansion Party did not happen.
No,
everything else probably did. He didn't kill Strawberry.
Did Derek Miller give you the text messages? They cut him out, really?
Yeah, no. I'd say
who dropped Stefani?
So we're not revealing our source. That's our agreement. But I will tell you this: at the time that we got the text message, Derek Miller was still all in. So
but they had cut him out of the loop.
Well, he spun out on his own. Well, he went out on his own, but he was still picking up checks because if you recall from the trial, which I sat through, did you? I didn't see you there.
I plead the fifth.
Okay.
I sat through.
Well, at least somebody's pleading.
I sat through quite a bit.
But Derek Miller was at Asian Village in the bathroom giving Kilpatrick tens of thousands of cash after he left
Why
the
didn't they go to
administration.
jail for Asian Village? I go past there and look at that and say, God, man, they just took the money and just there it is, empty. Empty building.
I mean, he went to prison for 28 years. I guess we could have kicked it up to 30, but he didn't end up doing it
What
28
about all
because
the
he
people
got
that
his knees for
gave
Donald
Kilpatrick
Trump?
money to leave? You know, nobody smacks them around.
Well, I just called him last week and I said, hey, what's the status of your loans?
What did
And
he say?
I think we all know, well, Kilpatrick wouldn't speak to me, but the people who made the loans wouldn't return my calls either. And I think the reason why is because it's pretty clear those weren't loans. That was
Right.
walking away money. And the reason they don't want to cop to that, because if they say we just gave him money to hit the bricks, they have to pay taxes on that. There's a gift tax. So they're kind of complicit in it too. And I think here's the thing that people understand about Kwame Kilpatrick. Kwame Kilpatrick, for all his talk about I'm for you, I'm from the neighborhood, I'm standing up for you. This man was at the beck and call of these billionaire CEOs the whole time he was mayor. When they called and they wanted something, all he said was, here's the price.
Isn't
And
that
they
what
said
big
it's the
city
cost of doing
mayors
business.
do? Don't
So
they
what
owe
about
their
those people?
existence to
Right.
these
What about
billionaires?
those people?
But
What
his
about those
father.
people that he was beholden to? What about them? What about holding them accountable?
Well, so let me tell you how that works. The whole time
Before you
throughout
go, we're gonna take a break, and then we come back.
Like,
and we'll-
subscribe, and share.
cliffhanger.
And I also
Right.
want to show a little interview I did in 2021 over on Livernois with where I asked him this
Okay.
question.
Because I live in Detroit, I was able to get tuition-free college through the Detroit Promise. I feel very fortunate working with the Detroit Promise. They were able to afford me so many opportunities. I'm currently studying media production and journalism at University of Michigan Dearborn. I'm looking to take my talents further into the production industry, short films. I love working with people here, and this is where I want to be. And that's why I'm
Thanks, Charles, for letting me use your gardening supplies. I'll make sure I put it back in the garage. Man, tending to that lawn is a lot of work.
Tell you the truth, Jim, I'm more concerned about keeping this house.
What's going on?
Well, you know, Sarah lost her job 2 months ago, right?
Yeah.
Since we lost that income, the bills have been piling up, and we're so far behind. I don't want to lose the house because of back taxes. I don't know what to do.
I understand. The same thing happened to my sister and her husband when he lost his job. Do you know that the Wayne County Treasurer has plans and programs to help people stay in their homes?
No, I didn't. Tell me about it.
Yeah, go to www.treasure.waynecounty.com and see if you qualify.
What's that site again?
www.treasure.waynecounty.com.
Got it.
Yeah, we're back. We're gonna play this video, right?
Right. We're going to play a quick video where I talked to Kwame and I asked him.
So, and how about people who say, Kwame, I don't trust it. He's going to be back to the same, whatever. It's the same Kwame. I don't believe that he's changed or.
Those are the people that I like the most in terms of living my life now, because if they could be convinced, then they would know that the transformational process that God puts people in is real.
Okay.
We just saw this video, and I'm like, oh, he likes you.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I don't know why he's not returning my calls.
If somebody suggests you need to write a book about this episode.
ML, how much is he making in this new job? And do this woman who I thought got a raw deal and was sent to prison, do she understand that he owes all this money to the feds and to
She understands. She doesn't care.
She's also not returning calls. When you look at the people that Trump let out, the difference between this woman and Kwame Kilpatrick is she got in trouble because she had nothing, because she was trying to provide for her family, keep a roof over their head. He got in trouble having everything, including a roof over his head in a mansion that we provided to him. There's no parallel between Ms. Johnson and Mr. Kilpatrick. But she didn't return any messages, so I can't ask her. But based on the tax returns that this nonprofit files, which are publicly available, Kilpatrick's predecessor made $132,000. I expect he'll make about the same, maybe more.
Can they garnish?
Yes,
wages?
and in fact, the Wayne County prosecutors talked about she's going to try and go after this money finally. The federal prosecutors have tried going after this money when he announced he needed $800,000 to get a new house for himself. The feds tried to garnish that money, but as often happens, by the time they figured out where the money was, somebody emptied the accounts. Right. This is something where I feel Like all the feds who were on this case have retired. Kim Worthy's kind of moved on to Flint and everything else. That I feel like I'm the last person who was there at the beginning and who can keep the record straight. And so if my burden is to stand up against somebody that everybody likes a lot more than me, who's a lot more charming than me, who's better looking than me, who's got more gifts than I do, and just say what he's telling you is not the truth, then I'll accept that burden. Because if we let him run this bullshit on us again, we could end up in the same problem.
Can he run for Congress?
He can.
Yeah,
Federally,
he can.
the
Absolutely.
constitutional ban doesn't
He can.
apply.
Yeah, he can.
And so you're not buying that he's changed at all.
The only thing that's changed is his suits. But the thing that hasn't changed, they're still expensive, and he's spending money he should be using for
And
restitution.
your
to buy.
column is basically talks about him being on a cruise, him living a good life and not paying any restitution. Well, how much restitution has he paid?
So
$500.
So he owes this. Yeah, I think last time he paid the restitution that's owed to the city of Detroit that he agreed to pay. Okay, so nobody put a gun to his head. Was in 2013. The feds say that he's paid $5,000 out of his pocket in the millions that he owes. But there's also issues like there's a black contractor who has a $7.5 million judgment against him because he said these crooked deals cut me out of city of Detroit water department work that I need for my business. So there's real victims here. I mean, the $1 million you owe the city of Detroit. You spend it on, it doesn't
But he
go
had
far.
an out. I remember before the text messages came out, I had lunch with Kim Worthy and remember Jerome Crawford, late Jerome Crawford.
Yeah.
And she said before I got up from Mario, she said, we got text messages and I'm going to charge him with all these counts. She said, go back to your client and tell him that if he resigns, we won't prosecute him and he can run for re-election next year. I go back. I said, Mr. Mayor, I thought it was a great idea. You know what? You know what he told me? You know what he told me? You know what he told me? My people talking to her people. I said, I talked to the prosecutor. I just had lunch with the prosecutor. And when I was pissed at him, a year later, he resigns. I said, you sent the city through all this shit. You should have just took the first opportunity. You know, he had leverage, but he didn't use it.
He's the drunk driver that kills everybody on the highway and goes to sleep in his own bed and figures. We're all mad about it.
ML. It appears to me that, and you've already said, you're the last man standing. The feds, they really don't care about this anymore. It was a hot story years ago, and it was hot when, he asked for the money for people to donate to his house. They have moved on.
But he left a body count. He left a body count. He left a body count. He took his frat brother in Florida, Jeff Beasley, got him 12 years. All these people that's tainted, that work for him, that can't find jobs because they tainted with the Kilpatrick administration.
But you have a current administration, Duggan, who supports Kwame Kilpatrick.
They friends. They come from the same womb.
Okay, so
they come from the McNamara.
My point is, you have the mayor of the city of Detroit, who
Duggan didn't go to jail. But Duggan didn't go to jail, and Kwame went to jail.
Can I finish my statement, sir?
You can't
Can I finish my statement, sir?
No.
You have a mayor of the city of Detroit who, by all accounts, people, they love him. He's been successful. He has accepted the fact that this man has changed. Again, why can't you? No, I think you've accepted it, right?
I'm rooting for him, but
okay.
I understand.
I'm not
Why don't you just
because the people that was on the Titanic with him, he let them drown.
Well,
that's Emma Bell that they took her pension and everything else, that she was a loyal Kilpatrick person, and they threw her under the bus, rolled her over, took her body and threw it in the river. So now that's who you should say. Well, the feds don't care, but the other folks that did his bidding, they were still suffering for it.
But I'll say this, he's a preacher now, and he talks about
that ain't saying
about the important.
Who ordained him, by the way? Where's his divinity certificate?
I don't know, but he talks about the importance of, and specifically he talks about. I've watched some of the sermons. talks about people in the city of Detroit owning up to what they've done and they won't do it. And I feel like he will not.
He said that in the sermon?
Yeah, he said that. He said in one of the sermons. And you know what? He does, or maybe I take it back. It could have been during an interview.
Okay.
But he has not owned up to. He was guilty. I mean, we sat through the trial.
So is he supposed
the evidence.
to own up to
the
us,
evidence
or
was-
is he supposed to say,
Well,
Lord,
both
I
two.
confess my sins?
Well, he
I
may have done
repent.
that, but he hasn't done that with his congregation.
And
If he paid, if he made a good faith effort in paying off the city, say, yeah, I fucked up. You know what? I did some things that I shouldn't have done. I'm trying to right the wrong. But when he had an opportunity, when he worked for CompuWeb, when he went down to Texas, if you'd have just got him a nice condo, etc., he went out and rented. But he got him a mansion. And you know what? They were just living large. I mean, living large. So you know what? It is what it is. He's still in the spotlight. He want to be in the spotlight.
And
he
you
wanna
guys are
move
giving
back.
it to him.
Well,
You
I
guys
think
are
he's-
giving it to him.
Oh, I think
He loves that.
I think
He
he's
loves
talking
that.
about moving back to Detroit, and I think, and I'm guessing, I don't know, but he has this virtual ministry where I'm going to guess the core support is still.
He can beat
Detroit.
Tree if he ran for Congress.
even though he's in Georgia.
And that's a sad situation. If he ran for Congress, he'd be a threat to go to Washington. You know,
I think he'd fit right in. He could sit next to George Santos.
Right. Who used money to get fillers, right?
I don't know.
He did.
He's only fan.
He didn't spend enough. He's still pretty ugly looking mother scratch, if you ask me.
But anyway, tell us about your show and how they can reach you.
Oh, sure. Yeah. So like Adolph, we try and reach people by giving folks the story behind the story. It's called ML Soul of Detroit. We post every Tuesday. This week, we're talking about Kwame Kilpatrick and kind of how we decided to do the story this week, because I hear Kilpatrick stories all the time. I mean, I could do one every week, but it wasn't until he kind of got back out there, said he's going to buy a big old place in the suburbs. He's going to come back here. And it feels like the reason he's coming back is because he can't grift anybody else. So we need to put the warning out there. I mean, this is be on your guard. Watch your wallet, okay? He's coming. And when he shows up, it's only because he wants something. But, we told 3 stories on the show this week that all happened within a few months of him taking money, spending thousands of dollars at a men's clothing store when he says he's got no money restitution. He just told the judge, I believe he did. I don't know, maybe he wore 2 shirts when he walked out. That's been known to happen. But when he was telling the judge, I'm changed, I'm doing everything else, I'm doing a righteous man routine, he goes to Costco and gets the biggest TV they got, and then argues about paying the sales tax. So not only won't he pay the restitution, he won't pay the 6% on the TV he wanted to watch the Super Bowl.
Because his reasoning was what?
Oh, because I'm a pastor, I have a church. Churches are
Nonprofit.
tax exempt.
Exactly.
It's like the time he went to
Right.
Walmart to get a MoneyGram for $50.
Well,
I'm
he
not
was
sure.
while he was on
So
trial.
it was
While he was on
$1,500,
trial.
But I do find that a lot of people that are in the church, especially if you talk about Black church in the poor neighborhoods, they are the most vulnerable, and they are the people who believe and will buy this, will buy into this.
Just like Trump.
And
Trump got the same type of folks. They give them their money.
And so, I'm not afraid. I don't think that the people are going to get their money back. I think that people have just moved on.
No, but the thing is, one of the things that makes Detroit such a great place is because we are so forgiving. We are so generous. We want to see people come back. We want to see people rise from the ashes in the way we hope to rise from the
When
ashes.
he left, he said he was going to come back.
But the problem is,
He did say Asian.
there's another saying out there that we have to remember is don't get fooled again. And that's what I'm worried
Do you
about.
remember the speech he made?
But let's save
when
our
he left
love and
office?
grace for people who deserve it and want it and who've asked for it.
Well,
The right way.
Do you remember the speech that he gave when he left office? His wife was standing next to him.
Ex-wife.
And his ex-wife. And he said that he was going to come back. And
Detroit
guess what?
going to set
He
me
did.
up. Come back.
I was actually
we
locked out of
did.
that press conference.
We did.
But anyway, we're going to have to have you back.
I appreciate it.
Elrick from the Detroit Free Press. Pulitzer Prize winner. Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry this is a story we're telling, but you know what? People have to know.
Keep telling. Keep telling.
People have to know. I'm glad it's introduced me to some wonderful people.
And thank you for taking time out on this Saturday. Vanessa.
The Spartan, what happened to the Spartans yesterday?
Time to go.
So, if you're watching this show, we would like for you to like, subscribe, and share. You can find us on all platforms, X, Facebook, Instagram. You can also find us on DetroitBlackandWhite.com. You can watch all of the episodes. Come on down to McShane's on the corner of Trumbull and Michigan Avenue. We're here every Saturday. We would love for you to come down and participate. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful, chill weekend.
Allan, final word.
Final words. I'm going to say, everyone got together for Thanksgiving and stuff like that. If you think you just have a cold, you should test for COVID. COVID is going around again, even if people have been vaccinated, have been getting it. So just as a consideration, you see people that have a cold or whatever, and you're like, oh, is it COVID? And they go, I don't know. Well, as a consideration to people, particularly when you go in a big crowd, or particularly with elderly people, it's just being considerate. So.
Well, and I just want the last word to Governor Ron DeSantis. I'm woke. I'm woke because I know that the Pilgrims didn't invite the Native Americans to dinner. I'm woke because George Washington didn't chop down no damn cherry tree, and he told a ton of lies. And so we can go on, but we're gonna say thank you for watching and listening to us. Thanks, Chris Hansen, from his show on
TruBlu.
And ML
Elrick, who writes a great column every Sunday. You got something good coming in tomorrow?
I took this week off for Thanksgiving.
Okay.
So we have something coming up, and it's all about just telling people what we know. If you disagree, that's your right. We're not telling you how to think. We're just telling what you need to know to make an informed decision.
But I'll say just real quickly that the column is great. I mean, he's really old school columnist who really digs and.
He the last of the Mohegans.
Yeah.
And we want to thank Jim Nardoni and Teresa. Thank you very much. And we're back next week.
All right.